सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी श्रीशमानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So we are now beginning the reading of several of Prabhupada's conversations on Varnashram in this book. And the first conversation is a room conversation in Montreal, July 16, 1968. So, devotees can pull this up. The book itself is on Vedabase?
It's also on Ashram.com.
Oh, it's on Ashram.com, that's right. It's on Ashram.com. So, you can just pull it up there if you like. Is the first conversation on Ashram.com, July 16, 1968. If you want to stretch your leg, you can sit in that corner and stretch.
It's gonna be like facing like somebody. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
No, man. I see.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Whoever.
Documents?
Chaitanya Bhagavat?
Or why don't you
Chaitanya
move so
Bhagavat,
that he
yeah.
can sit in that
Oh.
corner
No,
and
it's
stretches like
showing
that?
online in March.
Oh, I meant stretching like that way.
I have the whole
Sitting in that corner.
Yeah,
We're in
you're
it.
gonna sit.
Giri's
Okay.
trying to find the page in Chaitanya Bhagavat.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, found it?
No, it's not there.
On Ashram.com.
It's on mine. I don't know.
Ashram.com is there?
It's on yours.
No, it's on Ashram.com. Hit documents.
We are hitting documents.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not showing up on
documents.
Amayama's.
It's not showing up on
It won't- it
mine.
won't
I'll repost it. I'll
It
repost
won't
it.
upload?
I'll upload it right
Well,
now.
because he's flying, so that like cuts off the link.
No, this was uploaded like last week.
Yeah, but
Okay,
Amadou
got
did it.
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah,
got
the
it.
problem is the name. Some 807F62.
Well, that's not even showing up on his phone. Oh, anyways.
Okay, so now it's there on Ashram.com, right?
Yeah. And which page? On the phone.
It's by Hare Krishna.
It's probably one. The first conversation.
What does it start with?
Montreal, July 16, 1968. Mutual respect in Varnashram.
Page
8.
Okay.
That's what I got. Montreal, July 16, 1968.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Anybody can start reading. This is me talking a lot. Start reading.
Mutual respect in Varnashram. Montreal, July 16, 1968. Room conversation.
You can keep it.
Testing the success of one's occupation, government, grants land to citizens, taxes linked to production, caste system, natural versus corrupt. In Varnashram, everyone's position is treated with honor. Prabhupada. You can sit down, so everyone is working. Never mind in whatever occupation one is engaged. That doesn't matter. But one has to test whether he is becoming successful. Because everyone wants success. We are not animals, that without any success we shall work hard labor. That is animals' business. Just like several times I have given the example, Dopara Gada, the ass of the washerman. That kind of business and work is of no use. Dopara Gada, ass of the washerman. Here, of course, you have no experience. In India, there is a class who are called washermen. In India, there are different castes. Washerman a class, barber a class. I mean to say, so many departmental. So each and every one, there is a class who take up that work. Sweeper a class, all the necessities. The clerk, even clerk, there is a class. Priest, there is a class. Fighter, there is a class. That is nice arrangement. In India, and florist, there is a class. Florist, their business is simply to supply flower. Fisherman, there's a class. Butcher, there's a class. So I read a whole page. Like, what's the deal?
We were just doing two paragraphs, but I guess.
Okay.
Want to go on?
Just like we have got a temple, now we require potter. Potter, there is a class. In Jagannath temple, the arrangement is that the prasadam is cooked every day in new earthen pot. No old pot is used. Once used, it is thrown away. Formerly, this was the system in India. Even dishes, once used, it is thrown away. No washing. Even golden dishes, silver dishes, once used, it is thrown away. And now golden dishes, there is no use of golden dishes. Neither nobody throws it away, but that was the system. Now the earthen dishes, just like China clay dishes, this is considered impure because it is repeatedly used. In India, those who are strict Hindus, earthen dishes, once used, it will be thrown away. Clay dishes. So this is China clay dish. It is not to be used again. It is thrown away.
So that's technically why porcelain is low class compared to like metal. Porcelain is clay, and according to the Vedic standard, used once, trash. Even though porcelain is glazed, it's glazed so that you can wash it again and again. And porcelain is very famous in the West because that's what restaurants use and everyone uses, but it's clay. And it's in India it's used only once. Like Jagannath Puri, we went to Jagannath Puri and he was, whatever served to the Lord, you get the pot straight, you eat out of it and throw. So, yeah, it just becomes earth.
Just like you have got paper plates and glass here, you eat it and throw it away. Similarly in India, now it is being introduced these paper dishes, gradually, but from very old time, refreshment or foodstuff supplied in clay dishes, and after eating it is thrown away. So there is a potter class who flourish. They sell their products, just like in your country also. So many things are thrown away so that the manufacturer get chance to sell again. So everyone has got a particular type of profession. The potter, the washerman, and the florist, the grain dealer, the silver or gold dealer, the banker, and everything, and the priest and the warrior. So even in India still, there is no difficulty for draft board. There is a class, Kshatriya. They will be very glad to be recruited as a soldier. They are very strong, Jat. They are called Jat, Gurkha. They don't like any other occupation. Fighting they like. The Sikhs, is it Sikhs or
Sikhs?
The Sikhs, they are Jat class.
Jat.
Jat. And the Gurkha, the whole British Empire was extended with the help of the Sikhs and the Gurkhas. The Britishers took these Gurkhas and the Sikhs to Burma, to Mesopotamia. They liquidated the empire because they lost India. The British soldiers were not helping to keep up their empire. These Indian soldiers, in the first war they gained for these Indian soldiers. They fought in France and everywhere very nicely. They are a fighter class. They like to fight.
You could read the next one also. And then
fighting is not going every day. So the arrangement was, just like you have to fight for the state. So there was no monthly salary system. You are awarded by the government a certain tract of land free. You produce grains and utilize the land. No tax for you. But when there will be war, you shall fight. Very nice arrangement. Similarly in temple, the florist has to supply flowers daily. Mr. Kanvar, am I right? You know this Indian system.
So, I mean, it's a completely different system because nobody is necessarily receiving salary, just like you have people today also. What is that? There's like, what they call them? They're like reserve force. They can be called anytime.
National Guard.
The National Guard. And then the National Guard gets some payment every month from the government for being a National Guard? No.
Yeah.
They get some money?
Yeah.
They get some money every month or they get just benefits?
Yeah.
They get money.
It's not a lot, but you get some.
Yeah, you get some. But back in the day, they would get fully paid. It just like, and you'd be called only in times of war or when it's required. And there was a class. This was current even as far as like the Greeks, for instance, the Spartans and others. They were well known for being warrior class. In fact, that the Mahabharata states that the Greeks and all were basically fallen Kshatriyas who gave up Vedic Dharma, but they were Kshatriyas. And that's why the Europeans actually ended up colonizing the whole world, because they're Kshatriyas. They're descendants of fallen Kshatriyas. So, but the thing is, it's interesting that the British were such demons. They recognized the system, they exploited it for its purpose, and when it didn't serve their purpose anymore, they came up with an education system that was intended to destroy this very system that existed. They took advantage of it. There's many stories of how, Sikh soldiers have bravely fought and given their lives up for the British, and they would get, handsomely rewarded by the British and things like that. Never given equal rights, but still they would get rewarded. But then later, in order to weaken India, one of the things the British did, this is spoken about in this book, Breaking India, is that there's what's called as, Sardar jokes. In India, this is popular. It's called jokes against Sardars, Sikhs. Specific jokes directed against a specific... the Sikh is made to look like some dumb idiot.
Santa Banta.
And Santa Banta and all this kind of stuff. And then, there's all kinds of funny jokes. I don't remember anything. You might remember some.
He definitely.
Hindu. No, I don't remember anything.
You don't remember anything right
Top of
now?
my head.
Yeah.
Santa Banta is pretty good.
But maybe in the next time I'll relate how they make, it's all part of understanding how they make this kind of so what happens is they make these Sikhs look like idiots, whereas they're supposed to be highly respected, because even today in the Indian army, most of the fighters are Sikhs. Even today. There's stories of how, for instance, when the partition between India and Pakistan happened, because the partition actually split the state of the Sikhs in half, Punjab. So you have Punjab in Pakistan and you have Punjab in India. So it became West Punjab and East Punjab, but actually it was one state. So the Sikhs, they're from Punjab. And, when the partition happened, Pakistan became a Muslim state and India was secular. So there were Muslim, people who came into the village. It's a village full of Sikhs. And before that, the Sikhs knew, okay, the Muslims are coming to attack and we're finished. There's no way we're going to be able to defend ourselves. And what do? What do invading armies? What are invading?
Muslims?
Well, Muslims, but in general, invading armies do some nice rascal stuff.
They rape the women.
So they kill all the men.
Yeah, they rape the women.
And they rape the women, and then?
And the children.
The children are pretty much enslaved. This is a trend you will find in war throughout especially modern history. The women are raped and are taken as concubines and other sex slaves, and the children are turned into just slaves, and the men are all killed. So the Sikhs, in order to prevent that the disgrace, the dishonor of seeing that their women and children are going to get exploited, the Sikhs themselves killed every single woman and child in the village before, and then
their own women,
they had to kill their own. Each family man had to kill his own family members. They stood and they killed each one of them with their own hands, and then they turned around, waited to fight, and then they killed as many Muslim people as they could, and then they died. And they were like, this is an honorable death.
Any child above the age of 10 had
any child above the age of 10 had to come with them and fight and honorably die. You had to die. And until you die, you're going to kill as many people as you can and then die. This is called heroism. This was all glorified. Nowadays, they don't talk about these things. Nowadays, in fact, it's what's worse is the Libby education actually condemns all of these things. They go the other way. And what do you get? You get wimps, who get overrun by real men. So then you have advanced countries who produce just wimps because of the educational system. All you get is you get Prabhu Mata, Mata Prabhu, Pita Mata, and all this kind of You get prabhis and all this kind of like
Comic-Con
weird.
Comic-Con Bhav. That's the main
You get
thing.
all these like
That's
weird
seriously-
people, and who can't like if a country this is what happened to the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, after achieving a high level of material prosperity, just turned to straight up intoxication and sexual promiscuity, and became a bunch of wimps that got overrun by tribes,
Yes,
just
really
by
horrible.
brute tribes who were not as civilized as the Romans. Why? Because they weren't producing real people anymore. They were just producing people who were so enamored by sense gratification. But how does the Varnashram system prevent that? In two ways. One is that there's a class for everything. It's not that anybody can do anything. And the class maintains a certain honor. And the entire system is agriculture based. Which means that yes, like we read in the Ramayana, there is intoxication. There is all that stuff. But it's within certain boundaries that prevents the whole society from going to hell. And that is firmly kept by the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas who maintain very tight control. Yes, Bharata allowed his soldiers to go and get 8 women rubbing oil on a man, like that's a lot.
Offered liquor in the street,
That's a
right?
lot.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Offer wine in a secluded place.
That's too much.
I don't know if that means what I think it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Well,
Okay.
I was actually when we were reading that, I was thinking that this,
He like really diving into
you know,
He wants to get it.
One man was imagining.
Oh no, I'm thinking like maybe they were like, I don't know.
I was thinking,
They're just tired.
I was actually thinking that this combination of like wine and sweet rice must have something to it.
Yeah.
It must have something
Gives you
to
the
it.
strength of 7 minutes.
Because it can't. There's probably a reason why it went together. It's something that maybe the advanced Western intoxicators haven't figured out yet. Maybe there's something about it. Maybe some Sahajiyas will introduce it to the West.
Wow.
Possibility.
Possibility.
But anyways,
I see it happening in Miami.
Yeah? No. So anyways, but you see that this class system, it was, if done right, it helps, and even the British used it. Even though through Max Muller and others they tried to break the system, but that's because if the system existed, you can't exploit. You can't exploit people. It's hard. Just like right now. I mean, with all this stuff, you can see how hard it is to get to the conservative Christians. Because why? They're very intent on making their children believe the same things they believe. They're really, and then you see those children coming out to try to get them to become devotees. It's hard, right? But the point is, the process works. And which is why, Guru Maharaj ordered this book right now. It's on my desk. He's going to read. It's called Stockholm Syndrome's Christianity. And Ali was flipping through a few pages because Ali likes this kind of stuff. So, he was flipping through a few pages, and then he said he read. So where the guy, he's saying, he's like, don't send your children to public school.
There you go.
Your children must be friends with other Christian children who are raised in similar Christian families. And this is very specific class training.
Yeah.
And you take that in terms of occupation, in terms of religious principles, in terms of family tradition, that's the result you get. So it's not something that's too far off for us to understand. The Amish are doing it today. There's so many people doing it today, even in this country.
Yeah, there's this guy, when you go to BMSC, there's this Nepali guy called Raj, what I'm talking about? He sells the singing bowls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Gopal.
No, Gopal and this other guy called Raj, they're both friends. So Raj, what he told me, that he also was born in a Gurkha family. And till today, the British, they have a special system for the Gurkhas, that if they served for 7 or 8 years in the British army, they come to hire them. They have some crazy physical tests that they have to go past, and if they pass it, till today the British government gives them. They just had to serve in their military for 7 or 8 years or something like that, some intense military service. Till today, they give them like residency, money. You basically get out the hood. Basically, make it out the hood, and you like and you can see this guy is like he's in America. He has good money. Like he makes so much money from the business that he does. Till today, they value the Gurkhas, like the Prabhupada is mentioning.
Yeah.
And Gokul Prabhu, he speaks about in one class where, the British were with the Gurkhas, and they said that, okay, so now we're going to be flying over the enemy territory, and you will have to jump out of the plane, land there, and fight. So how many of you are willing to do it? And then no one raised their hand, and they said, come on, you're Gurkhas, how many of you would be willing to do it? And 5 of them raised their hands. But they said that, I don't know if we live by the time we land. They said, come on, guys, we're going to give you parachutes. And everyone raised their hands. So 5 guys were willing to jump off the plane and still fight without a parachute. That's how much bhav they had.
And it's a question of honor. Even today, it's a religious principle among the Sikhs to carry a small knife with them. And this is how much that principle is so strong. They have to have like beards. They have to, they wear these turbans because they are symbols of Kshatriya. They have the Kshatriya spirit, and it's part of their religious tradition. But the truth is that their culture, their system itself, they worship the Guru a lot. They're taught to respect, originally the system was they were Kshatriyas who were taught to respect Brahmanas, Gurus. And then they worship the book that the Brahmanas or the Guru teaches from, which actually, if you read that, is actually about Radha and Krishna. It's interesting.
There's a lot of Maya.
But the point is, it's got convoluted.
The book is about Krishna.
Because of being lack from a standard parampara, it's gotten deviated. But the point is, you can still see the trace of that original spirit found in this. These is all very instructional for us to observe these things, so that we think, okay, how can we recreate this down the line? This is what this Varnashram college is meant to discuss about these kind of things.
And you can see these guys are taking over Canada, man. They really, this Mandeep Singh and
they're all now everybody's. Anyways, Kali Yuga is just what is
it? Yeah.
Okay, all right. You want to continue reading?
Kalki Prabhu.
Just a quick question. So Sikhs and is it religion and a caste also? I mean, I don't really understand that so much.
So
Sikhism, but then they're also.
So Sikhism is basically a offshoot of what is now predominantly called as Hinduism.
Okay.
But several years back, until Guru Nanak, they were just Hindus. Okay. They were just part of Sanatan Dharma. But then this Guru Nanak became a very prominent, it kind of became a bit of an offshoot that later branched off further and further. But they follow very similar religious principles. They consider the Ganga very holy. They come and bathe. They come and respect sadhus. They, in the Gurudwaras, they actually don't, the strict Gurudwaras don't serve meat.
They don't.
Huh? Or onion and garlic, right?
Yeah, or onion and garlic. Then there are Gurudwaras now that serve onion and garlic but no meat, and then there are Gurudwaras.
Yeah.
So, so even though they're meat eaters, Sikhs are meat eaters.
Yeah.
But at the Gurudwara, there's no meat. And they actually respect, demigods like Shiva. Mm-hmm. They respect Krishna. They also come to holy places in India. They go to Badrinath, have darshan of the Lord and things like this. They engage in, but mostly their worship has now become worship of Guru more than God. It's just a Guru. It's all about Guru.
But they don't even have a real Guru. It's a Guru Nanak guy.
Yeah, but that's the Guru, and that's kind of how it's become. It's mostly the Guru, and then worshipping the book of the Guru, worshipping the Guru and the book of the Guru, and so it's kind of turned into its own sect, you can say. Yeah. But originally they're part of the traditional Sanatan Dharma.
So all Sikhs are at least the men. They're all Kshatriyas. Is that
They're men and women also.
Yeah. But I know what I'm saying.
They're Now they aren't regarded the highest class of Kshatriyas.
Okay.
but they are Kshatriyas. They were reliable fighters.
Okay.
The higher class of Kshatriyas are, for instance,
Rajputs.
like the Rajputs, the
Cholas.
Marwars,
Cholas.
you know, and you have so
Chhatrapati
many,
Shivaji.
so many,
So
so
it's
many.
kind of like, anyways, it might be like funny, but like Jewish people kind of, how they're like, they have their religion, but then also they're kind of like bankers and stuff like that.
It's like a religion of
Yeah.
Alright.
Definitely.
So it's like a class
Definitely.
and a religion of Kshatriyas.
Now you understand that because it's been so long, you know, there are Sikhs who are like doing other things,
Like Erman
Yeah.
stuff.
not necessarily like, you know, fighting, but still, a lot of them still prefer to join the army.
Yeah.
And even today in India, an overwhelming number of North Indians are found in the army than South Indians.
Yeah, for sure.
South Indian, because South India is mostly, you have Brahmanas, you have Vaishyas and Shudras. Some Kshatriyas are there. They were there. They're somewhere in some pockets. And they still join the army. But how many South Indians join the army is like, wow.
Mandu people join.
Yeah, Malayalis join.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's good. Yeah, you know, Chad D. My man, he's running.
Malayalis join.
He wants to distribute Malayali.
You'll see this even, I mean, it's harder to see this in the United States now because one thing, the problem with the United States is that there's so much of mixing of races here. It's like
Melting
an
pot.
intense like mixing of races, like a whole other level of like Europeans, Polish, Irish, you know, this, like
Like
that.
this guy, Vishnu, like him.
Yeah. So these kind of traits are found where, you know, lineages are more, you know, more properly preserved,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, and shouldn't not in the negative sense, pure blood,
Yeah.
you know. So, but that's not a good word.
You can see even Guyanese still maintain their thing. You know, for example, Devarshi Narad knows that his family is from Kashyap.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay, you continue reading.
Yes, Prabhupada. So the florist is given a certain tract of land free, and let him produce flower and make business. But the quantity of flower I require for my temple he must supply daily. Similarly, the bandsman, he should come and play band. Everything was based on land distribution. That was the system, and tax was paid to the government, not by assessment. Whatever your land produces there, you give to the government 1/4. That's all. If you have produced 1,000 mounds grains, you have to give to the government 250 mounds. And you have produced 100, then you give 25. So there is no question of harassment. Whatever the production is there. So this profession is accepted from Vedic time. Different kinds of men engage in different kinds of activities. Maybe a florist, maybe a potter, maybe a cobbler, maybe anything grain producer. So many society requires so many things. So according to the Vedic system, there is a class, and Bhagavata says that you are engaged in your occupational duty. So whatever you're getting success by such occupational duty. The Vedic system does not condemn anyone. You are the potter, or you are a lover. No, you are the good. You are as good as a priest because you are doing your duty. That's all right. Never condemn.
So this is type of Varnashrama. Like, you know, everybody is doing their different thing, and yeah, you can see the tax percentage, tax percentile in Vedic culture is standard tax percentile, 25%. Standard tax for everyone.
with the exception of the Brahmanas.
Brahmanas don't, and then others also. There are others who don't get taxed, like Shudras don't get taxed, because they don't. They just get provided.
So it's just the Vaishyas that get taxed? Because the
Pretty
countries
Vaishyas and then Shudras, but then Shudras who do kind of businesses also
Kayas.
get taxed. The Kayas, like the florist is not, may not necessarily be a Kshatriya. Sorry, may not necessarily be a Vaishya. There are like, for instance, but generally taxation is for those who produce.
Okay.
Like for instance, the barber will get compensated, but he may not have to pay tax, you know, because he's just getting, you know, what he requires and things like this. And
what is he going to pay with?
well, but that's the thing. He just gets compensated for stuff, and like they said, most of it's all based on barter. And now, while the barter system might look like, because that, you know, and you read in schools, you know, that's how they describe. Oh, the barter system was so cumbersome because you had to carry all these bags and bags of like stuff, and you had to like imagine if you were producing this, you know, and you had to trade it. If you're producing cabbage and you wanted like, a knife, and a knife is more worth than a cabbage, so you have to probably haul like 10 bags of cabbage and then give it to the guy so that you could get one knife, and it's not very practical and it's very cumbersome. But look, this, paper currency is very convenient. It's like, you just put it in your pocket and you go and exchange, and it standardizes everything. It made life very easy for everyone. Well, the thing is, in the barter system allows, one of the biggest advantages of barter system is that the society doesn't produce more than what it needs. Because you're not going to trade useless stuff. You will only produce what you need. And that way, greed is curtailed. The society today is producing so many things that are not required for human society. That's one thing. Second thing is, the inflation doesn't exist. If there's a drought, everybody suffers. If there's a famine, everybody suffers. When the famine goes, everything is back to normal. And if there's surplus, there's surplus. But it's just kind of like shared like this. But it's not like there's an inflation where right now you see the value of money is like it's constantly lost. And you don't have that. Third thing is you can artificially just increase money. That's the problem. Prabhupada will talk about. But there's what's called the fractional reserve system, whereby the government multiplies. Every time you make a deposit in the bank, the government can loan 8 times or 9 times more money than what is in the bank.
What?
You don't know that?
You're
That's called
saying
the
if we put in
fractional
like 10,000 bucks,
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
loan you 90 grand?
Yeah.
Somebody is getting loaned off.
Somebody,
your,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
just in general.
Because this is based on the government's assumption that everybody will not pull out the money at the same time.
Yeah.
So therefore,
Yeah, they can just create money.
no, they are.
Yeah.
They're creating, but they're not the only people who are creating. So the bank makes money off of money they don't actually have.
Yeah.
And by loaning money they don't have, on the assumption that everybody's not going to pull their money out of the bank. That's one thing. The second thing is that the feds actually straight up print when the government just wants to spend money for money that they don't have, because the U.S. government has a deficit of like some $300 trillion or something. Which, what does it mean? It means they printed $300 trillion, which they don't have. That's what the deficit means. It means it's the income versus
Oh my
what their expenditure is.
That's such a scam.
Yes.
They're scamming themselves.
And the funny thing is, if you go to the bank and you look at it, they say, your bank accounts are FDIC, protected.
Insured.
It's this federal insurance thing. And then in the bottom of it, it's backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government.
Wow.
But
Wow.
but the U.S. government is the worst because they have $300 trillion of debt that they don't know any idea how they're going to pay back.
Who is
They have
giving
no
them the money?
Huh?
It's like
print.
it's like like all the citizens they acquire that debt. That's what I was taught growing up.
A lot of it.
So the citizens acquire the debt, and then there's interest on that debt that's paid. And then they have investors who buy U.S. bonds, on the fact that, on the belief that the U.S. is a superpower, and therefore, if they loan money to the U.S. government, they're gonna get like nice interest because the U.S. government will pay them interest. So then the U.S. government takes the U.S. bonds are basically the U.S. government taking loans from people. Okay,
Dude.
so then citizens, U.S. citizens and other people around the world will buy U.S. bonds. So then they put their money.
How long will this hold up?
It's predicted, probably. It's predicted. It's going to crash sometime.
Dude.
It's a very artificial system, but this is what has replaced. So what, they don't teach you all this in school. They only teach you that, you got this nice paper currency and you don't have to lug around. Imagine you have to go and get rice, you have to go and get wheat from your house, and you got to trade, and maybe the guy doesn't want wheat, and then you got to go find someone who wants wheat and then sells that product to you. So cumbersome. We got this nice paper currency and it's got this nice picture of George Washington on it. And it's like, and it's so comfortable and it's so nice.
Now it's like,
But they don't explain what actually it is. So that it's not actually the paper itself is not the problem. Prabhupada said the fact that it's not gold backed.
Yeah.
It's not backed by gold.
Yes.
which is the standard.
Standardized.
So, but it's not gold standardized.
So the people who are investing in U.S. bonds loan the money to the U.S.
So
that-
imagine when you put money in the bank loans 9 times more.
yeah.
So when people buy U.S. bonds, the government says, "Yeah, I got U.S. bonds. I'll pay the interest," and then that's all that money. So you say I borrow and I buy a U.S. bond. When you buy a U.S. bond, you get so much returns. You get like whatever, depending on the Fed rate at that time. You get like 3%, 5%, 10%.
You give 1,000, you get $1,010 or something. I just like.
So then you get interest, and the U.S. is like, it's called Treasury bonds. So you got 5-year Treasury bonds, 10-year Treasury bonds. So you're not allowed to pull your money out in those 5 or 10 years. And within that 5 or 10 years, they'll return your money back, and you get interest paid for it. Like you get
something every month or something.
You get a higher amount when you take it back. You understand? And India also does this. They call it fixed deposits.
I mean, someone we know.
It's basic. That's what fixed deposits are. People put their money in a fixed deposit. Now, banks do this. Why does Square charge you a rate for you to pull your money out instantly? Because in the 3 days that they hold your money, they invest it in so many places and then get that money out. In 3 days, they hold money that's not yours, and they can use that money for 3 days to spend more stuff based on income that they're expecting. And like this, they rotate and they expand.
Same thing with what's happening in
Well,
Canada.
this is the point. This is what Vaishya greed leads to. This is Vaishya greed that is supposed to be controlled by the Kshatriyas and the Brahmanas.
But they control the Brahmins.
But because the Vaishyas bought everything out. These big, that's U.S. capitalism is basically a Vaishya-controlled society.
So there are people who all put together had $311 trillion. So basically, there's people who actually had that money that they loaned to the.
No. Some is just straight up
Accumulating over
printed.
years and years.
Yeah, it's accumulating over years and years.
Like 50 years?
And inflated too.
Maybe longer than that. I mean, there's been so many wars, and that usually just go into debt when it's like.
So who loans this money out?
It's just the government.
It's just the government.
Yeah.
It's just
So
the
I
government.
say that they loan themselves the money.
No. What you do is they loan themselves the money, but others around the world have faith in the U.S. government. And so they allow the U.S. government to. So U.S. government becomes militarily very powerful. So everybody's got to like confide and believe in this. And the U.S. is the reserve currency for the world. All governments, they buy U.S. currency and they trade in U.S. dollars. So there's a lot of faith in the U.S. dollar.
So it's basically
When it's
might makes right.
I mean, that's how it is. What has changed? Nothing's changed. It's called, what do you superpower? Superpower means
Basically,
there's
we got the
also-
best weapons and the best army.
And if you stick it up to Uncle Sam, then
You're gonna get drafted.
as Guru Maharaj jokes, we'll bless you with some bombs.
Yeah.
We'll bless you with some bombs and
Literally.
Blow you up.
so that's all.
Wow.
Mason
Revelation.
studied this in the university also. All these
Yeah.
things.
Where's
Yeah, bro, what
where are your
happened?
deep realizations?
My deep realizations.
Yeah.
I mean, you just summed it up. I don't feel like it's like much to
Right.
add. Like,
So they loan money to themselves and bully others to like.
There's a blurry line between the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government.
U.S. government.
And
is
so they
pretty
could
much
just,
the
the
same.
U.S. government can like ask the Federal Reserve to print more money, and they could just create money.
Oh, and the Federal Reserve loans the money, but the Federal Reserve Board is chosen by the government. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Bro, so it's like I can have like, bro, can you give some money to my left pocket, bro? Or like, oh yeah, bro, can you give some to my right pocket, like that?
When you distribute a book by handing it to the.
Oh, I see.
This is the point.
Everyone
The
tells
thing
you.
is,
16 times a year. We distributed 60 volume times from
So-
Nityananda to
so the thing is that it's a truth that people don't like to talk about this, because if you think too hard about it, it makes you feel really unsafe and unsecure. It makes you feel really bad. But Prabhupada wanted us to discuss all of these things so that we become interested in actually creating an alternative for ourselves and our future. And everything is good as long as it runs good. And those who are quote unquote fortunate enough to not see when this karmic rollover happens, they even born or die, and then they think everything is wonderful,
Oh,
and they think their
everything
kids
matters.
also should go to, all these big universities, get a job, get a house, get this, get that, get this. But when it actually, the emperor is without clothes, and when it actually someone calls out, and it's a very fragile system, because everybody who's in the top, everybody who's all these different world governments, they all know that this is all, and the U.S. government is therefore you have people like Russia, people like China, people like other people who are trying to fight the U.S. Why? Because they want to be that.
Oh,
They're like, wow, look, the U.S. what they got. So they want. So there's always like this fighting, and the demons are, building up nuclear power and this and that. At some point in time, they're going to be like, screw it.
Yeah.
So
Demons are gonna
so
kill
this is
each other.
this is what is happening, and now now that's what Trump is playing with. He's playing with tariffs. He's trying to see how much the U.S. has got clout, how much power it's got.
Dude, that's a
you know,
big gamble.
and it's a big gamble because the U.S. is now a victim of the system that it established, the economic system that the U.S. themselves established in the world, and made other countries rich, and now they're like frustrated because they're not getting all the benefits of that system. And anyways, that's a big discussion, but these discussions are not out of the realm of what we are talking about, because when connected with Krishna consciousness and seen in proper light, it will help us understand the mission of Varnashrama. It will help us appreciate how pragmatic Srila Prabhupada actually. He wasn't just practical. He was pragmatic. This is how compassionate Srila Prabhupada was. That this mission is a lot more than just, yes, at the heart of everything is the Sankirtan movement. At the heart of everything is Sankirtan. But how great is the Sankirtan movement? How exalted it is. What is that knowledge that is contained within these books? And how far-reaching it has that we are discussing things that are apparently unrelated but are actually related. That one discussing these things in light of the furtherance of the mission of Lord Chaitanya actually makes spiritual advancement, although it looks like, what are we doing here talking worldly economic subject matters? We should just be chanting Hare Krishna. But no, it has a huge role to play. And it affects our devotees. It affects them. They don't. It's like it's unquestionable that you are not getting a good job, you don't have a good salary. It's like on par with like sin.
Yeah.
Almost like with the way society views things today. So it's like even devotees like parents with their children, you can't discuss any of this. They don't want to discuss it. No, Prabhu. My son must do this.
Be very successful.
It has to be. He has to do this. He has to get money. What's the problem? Let him become successful, and through that example, let him preach. This is not with the whole. You're sending your son to a system that is really and who's upholding this system that we are dependent on? The worst demons of society today, the absolute worst demons with the worst character, is holding up this society. Very sinful
for the
people,
selfish motive.
And when blank hits the fan,
Oh, dude, it's gonna be.
it's anybody's guess. Now, at the same time, we don't discuss this like some devotees like to do on Facebook. It's just like every eclipse, every planetary transition, the whole world is gonna end. Stock up on all these grains, and the whole thing is gonna like end. And we told you, we warned you, and they've been warning for the last 10 years.
Jesus will come.
That is like really weird, because that is not like it takes first. There's preaching. It takes time. There's also the faith that until we properly establish something, Krishna will protect. And Prabhupada said that also. Prabhupada, told this devotee that Krishna will protect, even in the event of a world war or something. Prabhupada even assured that there will always be customers for the books.
Wow.
That's a fact.
And
that quote.
so it's like, how are you supposed to understand? I got really convinced when, for instance, Shastra Krit told me when we first came to Atlanta. He was like, yeah, I was a brahmachari and distributing books, and back then this, the great crash, the Great Recession of 2008 happened.
Housing bubble?
Yeah.
The housing bubble crashed and the stock market crashed. It was really bad. I remember it. I remember. I was still in university, and there was like the seniors who were just like, and they were like not getting jobs, and they were like really like, the whole thing had like collapsed, and people lost like money like overnight. They lost money. The housing values like fell like crazy. People were trying to sell. People were willing to give their houses for next to peanuts.
Yeah.
It was so bad. The housing crash of 2008, and Shastrakrit told me that he was distributing books, and he didn't
even know.
realize
He didn't know.
until a while after everything had actually happened that something had actually happened. He was still distributing books. People were still buying books, everything. He said he never even realized that the housing, because he was like, Shastrakrit is like,
Give me some.
he's transcendental as a grahastha. I can only imagine how
Yeah, the
how transcendental he would have been, So he was like really transcendental, like, what? Crashed? What? What crashed?
On the billboard.
So he said he didn't experience, and that like gave me a lot. I was like, wow, this is really serious. Like, because people were like instantly, they were like without money. Yeah. So many people were really like, they had a really hard time. Like, people lost jobs and everything, and he was just distributing books like nothing. He said he never saw any change in his scores. Wow. That's like, that gave me a lot of faith. I was like, wow, that's like ecstatic. So Krishna will protect, but at the same time, we have an order from Lord Chaitanya, and we have an order especially from Srila Prabhupada, that the Deva Varnashrama has to be established. And so it is pertinent for us to discuss these things so that we lose faith in this modern civilization, which is hard to lose faith in because we were brought up in it, and it looks so secure. The bank really makes it feel like they got your money and they got you back. And you don't even know who has the money. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? You give money to this bank, it's this impersonal box. Okay? Yeah. You put your money there, and there's this teller, and she doesn't give a fig. She's signing on behalf of no one. Yeah. It's some organization, corporate, and it's layers and layers and layers of like stuff. But we have full faith in it, and they make it seem like everything is very good. The app and everything, it like makes you feel like everything is in control. Mm-hmm. And you got your money, and look, there's some digits on the screen, and those digits like go, up and down or whatever. But
someone on the top with so much anxiety, like trying to make everything work.
But you don't really. It's amazing. They've done a really good job of creating a really, really good system. Now, if the demons can do this, what should the devotees do for Lord Chaitanya, and what should the devotees do for Srila Prabhupada? We should come up with a really good system. Not that, and that is what we're supposed to be. The devotees are supposed to lead exemplary lives, and through the guidance that they receive from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, are supposed to establish the perfect system that Krishna himself has established. And it must be better than the system that the demons. It's not like, because we're in a devotee community, everything has to be substandard. No, it should actually be better than outside. It should be better. It's Krishna's system, right? But the demons, how can they make it look better? But they've done such a good job. They're inspired. What is it? Maya Pakrita Jnana. Inspired by
Smarties.
by
illusion.
And their education system. They got everything. They got. Looks like they know their stuff. Looks like they've got a lot of systems in place. But ultimately it's all fragile. It's very fragile if you read all about it. And nothing is actually perfect. And people are recognizing that. Back in Prabhupada's day, Prabhupada criticized democracy back in Prabhupada's day when people had a lot of faith in democracy. Mm-hmm. America was the champion of democracy. It still quote unquote is, but even the people, even people inside America, they kind of like losing faith in democracy. They still kind of believe it, but they kind of look, why? Because Trump came in power. If democracy can get Trump in power, it's like, isn't it true?
Yeah.
Is
people don't vote.
You have to ask him. Like, come on.
It's true. I'm telling you. It's both sides of the thing. They think if Biden can come into power, there's been like this.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Work.
I mean, I was like, this is
and they're like, there's nothing wrong, and it's true. That there's always these parties like fighting with each other, and they all quote unquote like democracy, but people have lost more faith in democracy than they ever have in the past. And so it's very interesting. We were reading yesterday in the Ramayana about how, he's saying, oh, that the king, the citizens are finished. There's no righteousness in the kingdom. There's nothing without a king. That's the Shastric understanding. And there was another statement that we read that if the king is bad, or if the king is not there, then everybody in the kingdom is just...
No, basically, rogues and thieves take advantage.
Rogues and thieves
That's
take advantage.
And then there's righteousness, sacrifice,
Everything is
agriculture.
Stopped. Agriculture, yeah. And so there were a lot of things that were attributed there to a pious king. And I was thinking, you read that, that's how society is today. It's like so-called, there is no king. As Guru Maharaj was saying that, in the United States, you have a law. The president cannot continue in the office of the presidency for more than 2 terms. Yeah, more than 8 years, because they can't trust a person beyond 8 years. It's like way too much.
India, you can keep. India, you can keep.
India, there's no limit.
Yeah.
There's no
even
limit.
Russia.
There's a problem.
No, they have a limit.
Oh, but you told me.
For him, no limit.
Putin can.
I think he just abolished it.
So I have a question in this regard. You're speaking about...
Oh, it is question time. I was
Okay.
way past question time. But we had some comments in the middle. Yeah.
This tariffs thing that you were talking about, how is it supposed to help? Is it so that business within the country increases? Or like what's the whole point?
It's anyways. The thing is that the U.S. government, after World War II, established an economic system whereby, well, I'll tell you this in private because it's
Okay.
it's not directly so much related to establishing a type of Varnashrama. Enough has been said to like lose faith in the system. But I can tell you in private.
I'm just asking if it's going to affect mood and mission sales or like just wondering.
It can.
So that's my main
It can.
Yeah,
reason.
we're not getting a himsagi anymore
Because of this.
it's affecting us.
Listen.
We were supposed to get a himsagi, but now they want to slap 27% extra.
Really? How much
It's
more
not
expensive does it
really
make?
27% extra.
No, how much are we getting?
So 1/4.
It was like
How
it was
much is it?
basically-
If the cost is $100, it's going to become 125. That's too much.
Okay,
Oh, is
what's,
it? Compared to what you're buying
33%?
from-
Yeah.
What's 27% of $20?
Like $25 altogether.
$25. Okay, so himsagi is $12.50 per liter, and then the ahimsagi would now be $25.
I think it's a double Timo.
Yeah, more than double.
It's, at this point, we can't afford
That's
it.
too much.
That's too much.
Next
I-
book.
we were almost
Yes,
close to
yes.
getting it, but we couldn't. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, so you mentioned, anyways, yeah, like to what degree, I guess, like, can we, I guess, keep track of what's going on? Because largely, like, when I moved in, like, I didn't really keep up. Never was really big on, like, politics, but, like, I kind of, like, stopped watching news, obviously, like, don't really look at, like, what's going on and, like, on with the economy. But to be able to look at these terms from a Shastric point of view, I guess, to what degree, I guess, can we do that without it being, like, some...
Well, generally, if there's a service, then we look at it. Otherwise, not. Like, for instance, I looked at the news, but then I informed them of the tariffs. They didn't really read up about the tariffs, but they just,
I didn't know.
He didn't know about it, but now he knows enough, at least, that both of them know enough to be able to like help make decisions. Because, to be honest, actually, we are entering a phase of world situation where things are starting to affect a lot of people. Like previously, there isn't so much of a difference between the different like presidents and this and that. Like at least as far as like daily life of devotees go, doesn't affect so much. But now this government, it's actually directly affecting us
Adverse.
quite a bit. Yeah, adversely, quite a bit with the visa situations, with the tariffs now, and who knows what else. So it depends on need. and when there's not need, and it's very easy to like get involved in reading a lot of things, but at some point there is a need. There is a need. Like for instance, during COVID, if you especially you were traveling, you would need to know what different restrictions were. For instance, in the state of Georgia, nobody cared.
No one gave a damn.
You didn't have to wear a mask. You didn't have to do anything. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a fig about anything. But if you went to New York or you went to California, they wouldn't even allow you to enter a place if you didn't show the vaccination card or something like that.
In Canada, they wouldn't let people board the plane.
Yeah, you wouldn't board the plane. You can board.
You can't get into restaurants.
Food even.
You couldn't get food if you weren't vaccinated. So then, if you're not a little bit aware of things, then it's difficult to function.
And usually the leaders
So-
can do it.
Yeah.
We don't.
Generally, that's what if there's a service,
Yeah.
like it was my duty, and I informed both of them. They don't they can read up about these tariffs, but it's really boring. It's horrible, and it's like, yeah, it's not fun. But I have to like scroll through and find out what the exact rate for India was, and then trying to figure out what date. And then I found out, okay, it's coming after the Mood and Mission shipment is coming, so the next set of Bhagavatams are going to be more expensive, and by 27% probably.
Wow.
Yeah, 27% more expensive. So then now it's affecting us.
So that means the BBT price goes up.
Huh?
Probably.
The BBT price may go up, which is why I've asked him to keep an eye on this, and he's taken screenshots of the existing prices so that, if the BBT later upgrades their prices and wipes out the old list, and then you don't know what the old prices were, you're kind of guessing. So you take a photo of it, and so you know what it is, because the BBT is currently printing books in China, which they've slapped a tariff rate of 34%.
Oh my god.
Which is a third. So imagine your Saptarishi is $60 right now. That would be $80 because it's a third extra. Your Bhakta stack going up by $5 minimum.
Wow.
So
Most people give it 20.
Most people give a 20, bro. It's one of those days now.
so either so at that point when it actually hits us, and then I was telling Prabhu, we gotta like keep an eye on the groceries from the Indian supermarket. Maybe Tindoras it depends, if how expensive, whatever, maybe not in the menu. Okra comes from Mexico, so that's fine.
No prices on Mexico, right?
As of now.
What about eggplant?
Really? I thought
They're fighting, but then again, Mexico,
Come on,
agreed.
Mexico gives them
As
all
of
their
now,
food, bro. Come
Mexico
on.
and Canada are
Yeah.
still like
Yeah.
fighting.
Oh, they're fine. Okay.
They're fighting. They're fighting.
Yeah, let's.
They're fighting the tariffs, and as of now, Mexico and Canada have been kept a little aside.
Anyways, okra's expensive already.
Yeah. But just saying, So then,
Mangoes.
Anyways, it's all further impetus. Man, we should grow our own, vegetables. We should have our own milk and ghee and everything. Otherwise, then you wouldn't have to worry about this. Who cares about what tariff?
Yeah.
It's like.
You mean traffic? Like, what does it mean? You wouldn't even know.
Or and then whatever we would need to at that point, it's going to be far less than what we would be experiencing right now. This is us, but imagine other people. It's not like your income goes up. Suddenly, the cost of your food has gone up by a third extra. It's not like their income went up by a third.
Food,
You know,
car, your traveling, your clothes,
Your insurance?
everything.
So then it starts to roll over, because the person who's okay, so the restaurant owner, then he starts increasing the prices, but then the restaurant owner increases the prices, then he's making a smaller profit, so then he's anyways he's going to cut the salary for the cleaner, whatever, and it's just like there's a ripple effect that kind of goes into society, which then everybody becomes depressed, and then you enter what's called a recession, worse, a depression.
Yeah.
Economic. A recession.
And how
depression.
long is it supposed to go on?
We don't know. It's all you don't know.
Last time when they did this, Second World started. It means that when they make this America, when they started this.
It's true. That's history.
This became like
That is
this
history.
depression. How we call this?
Great Depression.
Great Depression. Because of these tariffs, they also tried this in the Great Depression.
And World War I started.
Because these European countries became like a poor, and they became like try to make some new markets.
So they got upset, and then Germany got upset,
Mm.
and then they
It
said okay.
started
we'll
from
come.
here, probably.
They're about to get in.
And then that's when the ideas of the communists and all came up, because
Yeah.
the countries were starting to become poor, and then the communists came up, and they just wanted to fight. And then
It's mean now it's going to increase even.
Yeah?
It's mean the Korea crisis can be increased.
Yeah, yeah.
This is just like entrance on.
I mean, everybody's predicting a world war pretty soon. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why we're
we need the
having these
farms,
meetings.
boys. We need the farms.
What is
ASAP.
it, bro?
Okay, all right. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Vishnu Kripa Sindhu Bhutta Paritanam Bhavani.
When it comes to work, though, we just all just dip. Go anywhere, just start a farm just because.
Hey.
Just cause. Might as well. In the backyard.
I was on. It's like everything you were like presenting, for example, in depth, on like the whole situation and whatnot. Like I mean, like when we like learn this stuff in school,